Good then.
Are all the cameras on? Oh, is everything on?
Yes.
Oh, one film.
I think our director is saying we should get started. You can do that.
Are we good?
I'm pretty sure they are.
What episode is this? That's a signal to stop. Hi everybody and welcome to episode 9 of Nights at the Round Table. Today I am sitting here with Rob.
I am sitting here with Sonia. And we're going to be talking about a movie. Yes, they put me on a movie panel again. And once again, it's not your stereotypical Rob movie, no Pirates of the Caribbean or The Crow. They're asking me to talk about Fairytale, a true story.
It's a 1997 film. And I'm going to start with... actually, no, I should sum up the film. They say Fairytale, a true story. It's loosely based on the story of the Cottingley, I believe that's the name, the Cottingley fairies, which are a series of 5 photographs taken by children in Cottingley.
Allegedly.
No, they took the photographs.
Just because they say it's a true story doesn't mean it's...
The allegedly part is whether the fairies were real. So, what was your impression of the film?
When I started watching it, I actually remembered that I had watched it before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't remember when, I don't remember where, but I was like, no, I've definitely seen this before. And I was like, I had no recollection of it. And you know what? It was an hour and a half. It wasn't bad. It was okay.
It was okay. God damn it, I could have been watching Transformers. No, this movie, I actually really enjoyed this movie.
Fairytale, Michael Bay's Transformers.
I actually really enjoyed this movie. Though, I'm not sure that I really liked the inclusion of the fairies in the movie. And I thought, while watching this movie, I'm like, this is really familiar, and I know I haven't seen this movie before, for a fact. And then when I realised what the story was about, I'm like, oh, that's why this movie seems familiar. I know all about the Cottingley fairies. I've heard about this story before, although I haven't seen the movie. So, yeah. The only thing that bothered me was the inclusion of the fairies in this story. It would have been, I think, a better movie if they had left the question unanswered.
Maybe that's it. Maybe I didn't see the movie before. Maybe the fairies just told me about it.
Oh, really?
What? Okay, so seriously though, do you believe in fairies?
No. Clap if you believe in fairies.
Okay. Hold on. Yeah, because my grandmother, who was, from the old country, she did one of these things to me when I was young where she's like, fairies don't exist, but they're real, And so that's the kind of mixed message that I got. And if you have ever met my grandmother, and not many people have, there was a lot of really interesting things about this woman. And she was phenomenal, and she had a mind on her. She was a smart one, and if she left the door open that there might be fairies, I'm not going to question that.
Oh,
I'm not.
no, it's like here's my problem with the whole fairy concept is that it's based on early Celtic myth, but the fairies of Celtic myth were not these little winged things, not these insect hybrids. They were ordinary. They were a magical people that were tall and elegant. They were Tolkien's elves, basically. What they were not were these little, fairy things that flew around on gossamer wings. That's my complaint.
I'm not saying the fairies got it right.
The fairies got it right?
Or the people got it right. What I'm saying is, maybe that's just the way they dick with us.
God.
It's possible. Don't deny anything.
Yeah.
Bet you don't believe in ghosts either.
I do believe in ghosts, actually.
Ah.
Stay on target.
Okay. Back on target. So, Fairytale. Yeah. Go.
Okay, so the whole, if you're not familiar with it, the Cottingley fairies are a series of 5 photographs that were taken by 2 girls, and then it sort of exploded into this huge deal and then faded again. Now, there were a lot of things I liked about this movie when it was exploring the idea. One of my favorite things was when the douchebag journalist broke into the house and he found the fairy cutouts with the pins and stuck them in. That is actually how they duplicated the dancing fairies on the log with one of the girls. In one of the photographs, they had hat pins that they used to prop the fairies up. They were paper cutouts. And the 2 girls admitted later, in like 1983, I think it was, that the photographs were fake. However, one of the girls said no rational person sees fairies, but the other person, Frances, maintained that yes, the photographs were fake, but the fairies are real. So, yeah. So what I liked about this film is it took the confession from 1983 and showed you how it was how that particular photo was actually done via the method of this douchebag journalist he was a complete asshole in the movie.
Yeah. When we were actually prepping for this episode, we were looking at the names of all the characters, the real actors, and we're like, yeah, no, we're just going to call him the douchebag journalist.
Yeah,
because he was that kind of a character, and sometimes movies need that kind of a character, and it's all good, really.
Yeah,
for the betterment of the movie. But yeah, douchebag.
He was in the film, though.
He was terrible.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys, he's like, I'm going to make a buck off of, ruining this family and making these 2 little girls miserable, so.
Well, and practically a whole nation as well. Because it was quite the event. People went on fairy hunts.
Yeah.
Which they showed in the movie. It was actually quite good.
Actually, you know what pissed me off about those fairy hunts? They were littering. I mean, really. You go into the fairy's home and you drop trash. You're getting cursed.
Well, no, not really. The fairies just up and left, didn't they? They crossed the road with their little miniature horses. I rolled my eyes so hard.
That was the little miniature horse was a little bit excessive, but I was kind of disappointed in those fairies.
Like
that was really excessive. But what the hell kind of fairy just runs away from their home just because people are littering?
And there were lots of people.
Can't they hide?
Well, obviously, they weren't found.
So why weren't they hiding? Deserters.
Just
half-ass fairies.
Yeah, no, I had a big problem with the fairies in this movie. I would have much preferred it if they had left it unanswered. Rather than saying, yes, of course fairies are real. See, here they are in the film. Okay. I would have much preferred it to be the whole unanswered
I think
thing.
we're in agreement. Either the fairies show up and make a point of it, or just don't show up at all. No half-ass fairying.
There's some sort of really bad B-grade horror movie in that.
We could do a sidetrack YouTube episode of how we think fairies should have reacted.
Yeah, really.
Okay, the kids.
I think the person who played Elsie was really good. Well, they were both really good, really. I really liked Elsie a lot.
I enjoyed the acting of both, but character-wise, preferred Elsie.
Yeah.
Because I'm Team Frances.
Are you? Yeah. Really? Yeah, Frances.
Yeah.
I mean, she was adorable. Here's another thing, and I think for the purposes of the movie, it makes total sense to have the kids both closer in age and young. Frances in the film was, I think, 8, and Elsie was 12. In reality, Elsie was 16 and Frances was 9.
She was 16?
She was 16 when these photographs were taken. Yeah, 1917 was the first photograph. But they got almost all the other details correct. Like, Frances did come over from Africa, although she, in real life, came with her mother. And it was down by the back that all of these photos were taken. The father didn't believe in fairies and said as much. In real life, also happened. Mr. Wright didn't believe in fairies and said as much. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was definitely a spiritualist who did believe in the fairy folk. They got that right. They got a lot of stuff right in this movie. And it was really interesting, but I'm still hung up on the inclusion of the fairies. Really wish they weren't there.
How did you feel about the Harry Houdini angle?
Well, Harry Houdini was famously anti-spiritual.
But I don't know the actual true story of this, how much he was actually involved in events at that time. But I found that his character's inclusion into the movie was a little bit helpful and a little bit distracting at the same time.
I think, if I remember rightly, Harry Houdini and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle were friends. If I remember rightly. I might be completely mistaken about that. I'm going to have to do some more research. See, I liked it because of the clarification at the end. When he was like, yes, I'm like anti-spiritualist. I'm against frauds who prey upon the heartbreak of others for monetary gain. And then he says about these kids, that's not what's going on. That's not what's happening here. That's what's happening here. The fairies, whether they're real or not, whether it is a big hoax or not, they've brought an incredible amount of joy. And so...
And I always enjoy Harvey Keitel.
Yes, yeah. Peter O'Toole, too, as Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was good.
I didn't actually find that I was a terribly big fan of his Arthur Conan Doyle.
Really?
Yeah. And normally I associate Peter O'Toole with, an actor that I'm looking to see, but meh.
I found he played it very stage. His acting here was better suited for the stage than it was for the film in this particular part.
That might have been what threw me off.
Yeah, it may have been. I mean, it was very theatrical, as in stage theatre rather than cinematic. If that makes any sense. Am I making sense?
I got what you said.
Thanks.
No.
I enjoyed it though. I mean, the only other Sir Arthur Conan Doyle I've ever seen played was in Neverland, Finding Neverland, with Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp played J.M. Barrie, which is actually at the start of this film when they had J.M. Barrie's play Peter Pan. Do you believe in fairies? And that kind of stuff. I thought that was a brilliant way to open that up.
It was a nice intro.
It was a great intro.
Yeah. I also enjoyed the way the kids didn't really react to all the war and soldiers in the beginning.
Oh, like when Frances is taking the train and she goes up to the guy who's missing half his face?
Yeah. And she sort of like looks up at him and she backs up for a second and then she's like, okay, whatever.
Whatever. Will you play a game with me?
Yeah.
And then they're just playing together and that was very sweet. And when he comes back and he's like, I knew it! I knew the fairies were real! I'm like, aw, you idiot.
Because with kids, there's two ways that can go. I mean, the kid could be like, oh, okay, it doesn't matter, or freak out.
Yeah.
And for cinema purposes, it's better if she doesn't freak out on the train, because then you get a entirely different, impression of her character. But I found that it was a nice setup.
It was, yeah.
Also, it was important that, her father... was missing in action. And that whole little bit of added background really set the historical scene of the whole movie. Mm-hmm. Like, they kept on reminding you, there's a war going on, her father's missing, stuff is happening on the front, and all this fairy talk is distracting people from the horrors that are...
Yeah, exactly, which is why, with Houdini's comment and the whole, it's brought joy to an entire nation. Newspaper headlines and stuff that was happening.
Well played, writers. Well played.
Well, I'm not sure that it was far from the truth, honestly. Yeah.
But whether they chose to include that or not include that was the writer's decision.
Also director and editor.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a good film. It was well played. It could have been done better, I think. leaving the question open and leaving it for the audience to make up their own minds as to whether or not they believe in fairies, rather than just showing the fairies, would have been better.
Well, I mean, going back to what I said right at the beginning, it was an okay film, but it didn't really push the envelope in any way.
No.
It wasn't the sort of film that you'd be like, damn, that was good, you know, like, there was nothing...
It didn't even make you think afterwards.
No.
No, because it was just all there. The fairies were real. That's it. End of story.
Except for one slight fairy rant on my part. It's
Very slight.
whatever. But
The miniature horses, God damn it. God,
So-
those were dumb.
How would you have improved this?
Cut the fairies out.
Just that's all.
That's actually, the movie would have been perfect if they had just left it up to the viewer. In my opinion, it would have been like one of those slower British films, the way they are. No explosions or anything, which fine.
Focus on the acting, the story.
But it would have let me think a bit. I would have liked to have made up my own mind, rather than having fairies.
Woo!
Rather than having fairies just flying around on screen. That's the only way, in my opinion, it should have been left up to the viewer to decide for themselves.
Yeah. So there was one thing that, for personal reasons, that I thought was really cool about this movie. I had a slight photographer squee about all of the dark room stuff that they were doing, and the old way of processing the cameras, and the fact that they actually brought the stuff to an expert retoucher, to use today's terminology, and he was like, "Yeah, no, this is it's real, it's authentic."
Yeah.
And that whole 5 to 10 minute section of the movie where they're just like talking photographer shop is just, I enjoyed that greatly.
Yeah, I do like that. As true to the real life, they actually sought professionals, and the professional says, "Look, this isn't verifying that fairies are real. It's just verifying that the photo is an accurate representation of what was in front of the lens when it was taken." So, yeah. That's true. I do like that. If you were to give this... Oh, did you have another point?
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit weak on Kodak.
Oh!
Yeah. Come on, Kodak. To fairy or not to fairy? Okay, don't politically...
That was the entire reason they refused to give their certificate of authenticity, was because they were worried that it would mean that everybody would say, "See, look, even Kodak thinks that fairies were real and fit." Yeah.
When you pussy out, you go out of business.
Yeah, that was the reason.
That was the reason. It was a long decline, but yeah.
The fairies were in the long game. They made sure of it. All right.
It's always important to plot for the long game.
Right.
Pro tip. I need more beer.
Okay, if you were to give this out of 5.
No stars being I want my money back and I want my time back. 1 star being eh. I don't know. Almost a 2.
Oh, geez, that's the harshest review any movie has gotten. Ooh.
I mean,
us.
just to annoy Tom, I'll do
1.75.
No, we'll do 1 and 63/64. Oh, the look he's giving me now, yeah. But yeah, no, somewhere around the 2-star rating.
Really? Okay.
It was okay, but whatever.
Yeah, so I gave it a 3 for the same reason. It was okay. It could have been better. But the acting was really good, and the story was good, and it was actually quite accurate based on what I know of the events surrounding the Cottingley fairy photographs. So, yeah, 3. It was. I'm not sorry I watched it, but those damn fairies. Twitch. All right, you get to pick the next movie.
Again, 2 weeks in a row. Once again, I'm still the only one here.
Please be two.
Carrie. 1976.
6? It is, yeah, 1976.
And you look at one half of the bracket.
Yeah, I did.
So it's 1976 plus, maybe? I'm not sure about the 76. You can't contain Carrie? I don't know.
You can't contain the year. So Carrie, 1976. Other than Alien, I think this is one of the few horror movies that we're.
And it was before my time.
It was also.
Can't say that very often anymore.
Before my time.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so in a fortnight we will be watching Carrie. Thanks very much for watching / listening. If you want to leave a comment, do so down below. Hopefully there'll be a discussion going. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter at Silver Stag Studio. And I am Sonia. You can find me on Twitter at smcarrière.
And Rob at Geekinked.
Thanks very much. Bye.